Hey everyone, and welcome. If you're an 8th grade social science student getting ready for your exams, then you are in exactly the right place. We're going to break down one of the most important topics you'll face, natural resources. And look, this isn't just about passing a test. It's about understanding the world we live in. So, let's dive in and make it all make sense.
So let's start with a really basic question. Nature is all around us, right? Trees, rocks, rivers. But when does a simple tree stop being just a tree and become a resource? Well, it happens the second we humans figure out a use for it. It's our own needs and our own cleverness that turn the stuff of nature into resources.
Here it is, your perfect exam-ready definition. A natural resource is pretty much anything from nature that we use to live our lives. Think about it this way. A tree in a forest is just a part of the forest. But the moment we chop it down to build a chair, that wood is now a resource for us. It's all about how it's used.
But it's not quite that simple. Not everything in nature can be a resource right away. 3 things have to be true. First, it has to be technologically accessible. We need the right tools to get it, like having drills that can reach oil deep under the ocean. Second, it's got to be economically viable. It can't cost more to get it than what it's actually worth. And finally, it needs to be culturally accepted. A mountain might be full of minerals, but if it's sacred to a local community, it won't be treated as a resource to be mined.
All right, let's move on to section 2 and build on that. Now for your exam, one of the most critical things is knowing how we classify different resources. If you get these categories down, your answers are going to be so much stronger.
So we can pretty much group resources by how we use them. First up, you've got the absolute essentials for survival. The air we breathe, the water we drink. Couldn't live without them. Second, there are resources we use to literally make stuff. Think wood for furniture or all those minerals that go into our phones. And third, you've got the resources that power our world. Everything from coal and oil to sunlight and wind.
And that brings us to a difference you absolutely, positively have to know for your exam. Renewable versus non-renewable. It's a huge deal. On one side, you have renewable resources, things like sunlight, wind, and even forests. They can grow back or replenish themselves. But on the other side, you've got non-renewable resources, like coal and oil. These things took millions of years to form. Once we use them up, they're gone. For good. Understanding that is key to, well, everything else.
Now let's make all of this feel a bit more real. Instead of just talking about definitions, we're going to look at a true story that shows what happens when we make different choices about using our resources. This is what I like to call a tale of 2 farms. So, our story kicks off in Punjab. Back during the Green Revolution, Punjab became known as the food bowl of the nation, which was an incredible achievement. But here's the catch. To grow all those high-yield crops, farmers started pumping out massive amounts of groundwater. And that set the stage for a really serious environmental problem. And the results, they really show the long-term price of that success. The water levels just plummeted. Today, in 80% of the region, groundwater is being used up way faster than nature can possibly refill it. On top of that, heavy use of chemicals poisoned the water that was left, and the biodiversity, all the different plants and animals, it was just devastated. It's a textbook case of unsustainable use. But there is another way. Now, let's travel over to the state of Sikkim, which decided to go down a completely different path. They were facing similar issues with their soil quality, but instead of fighting nature, they decided to work with it. They shifted the entire state to organic farming.
Get this, just look at this number. After Sikkim went 100% organic back in 2016, the average income for farmers there went up by 20%. So this wasn't just a win for the environment, it was a win for people's wallets. It proves that being sustainable can actually be profitable.
This comparison chart just lays it all out perfectly. You should totally jot this down for your notes. On one side, you've got the industrial model in Punjab, tons of chemical fertilizers, overpumping water, and soil that's just getting destroyed. And on the other side, Sikkim's organic model, natural compost, smart water conservation, and healthy, living soil. And the result of that? In Sikkim, the birds and the good insects started coming back. It just shows that when you heal the land, nature returns.
So what's the big lesson from this tale of 2 farms? It brings us to a much bigger idea. Our role and our responsibility to take care of this planet. This isn't just about farming, It's about a whole mindset, what we call a duty of stewardship.
There's this really beautiful concept from the Bhagavad Gita called Lok Sangraha.
It basically teaches that our actions shouldn't just be for our own personal gain, but for the well-being of the whole world. That is the absolute heart of stewardship, realizing that we're just caretakers of these resources for everyone, especially for the generations that are going to come after us.
And here's the secret to why working with nature, like they did in Sikkim, is so powerful. Nature itself is the master of recycling and regeneration. Think about a forest, right? A leaf falls, it decomposes, and it becomes food for new trees. Nothing is ever wasted. Our goal should be to fit into those natural cycles, to restore and give back, not just to take. Okay.
Talk of ecosystem services. These are the critical, life-sustaining benefits that healthy ecosystems just give us. No charge. And this isn't some abstract scientific idea. This is real life. It's incredible when you stop and think about it. Trees are literally manufacturing the oxygen we need to breathe. Forests are acting like giant natural water filters. A massive chunk of the food we eat only exists because little insects like bees are out there pollinating everything. We are completely dependent on this invisible, around-the-clock work. Okay, let's switch gears a little and talk about the human side of this equation. Because the way these resources are spread out across the planet has huge consequences for us, and sometimes in ways you would never, ever expect. I mean, here's the thing. Nature didn't spread its gifts out evenly, not even close. Some countries are sitting on oceans of oil, others have incredibly fertile soil, and some have almost nothing. This simple fact drives global trade. It decides where huge cities are built. And yeah, it can even lead to major conflicts. But this imbalance leads to a really fascinating and kind of weird question. We always assume having lots of resources is like winning the lottery, right? A direct ticket to wealth. But what if it's not? What if having too many resources is actually a curse? And believe it or not, it's a real thing. Economists call it the resource curse. It's this bizarre paradox where countries that are swimming in natural wealth, like oil or diamonds, often end up with weaker economies and worse overall development than countries that have far less. It's completely counterintuitive. So why on earth does this happen? Well, it usually boils down to a few things. A country can get so focused on just digging stuff up and selling it that they forget to build other industries, like manufacturing or tech. All their eggs are in one very shaky basket. And sadly, all that massive wealth often gets mismanaged or, just disappears, never actually helping the people who live there. So what this all shows us is that how we manage our resources is just as important, if not more important, than how much we have. The lesson here is crystal clear, isn't it? What looks like a win today can set up a disaster for tomorrow. The choices we're making right now about how we use things have a direct and serious impact on the people who come after us. But look, the good news is it's not hopeless. We know what the solutions are. We can be way smarter about our water use, we can shift to better farming practices, and we can accelerate the move to clean energy sources like solar and wind. The playbook is there. And this isn't just wishful thinking. We've got amazing, real-world success stories we can look to. So, what's the big takeaway here? I think it all comes down to a simple but incredibly profound idea, a responsibility that really falls on every single one of us. Use our resources wisely today so that tomorrow can still be safe and sustainable. Thanks so much for joining me.